In this movie, Bright's project for evangelism took a revolutionary turn as he developed a fleet of highly advanced robots with the sole mission of spreading the gospel. These robots, named Messengers of Light, were designed to engage with the most remote and culturally diverse communities across the globe. Equipped with unparalleled linguistic capabilities, they could fluently communicate in any language or dialect, captivating listeners with their articulate messages of hope and redemption. The Messengers of Light embarked on an unprecedented journey to bring the teachings of Jesus to villages nestled deep in jungles, on mountaintops, and across vast deserts. Their knowledge of ancient traditions and customs allowed them to connect seamlessly with the natives, who marveled at these wondrous creations that spoke their language and understood their struggles. The village of Kumba lay nestled in the rolling hills, untouched by the rapid encroachment of technology. But that changed when Luminar, a sleek, silver humanoid robot with eyes that glowed a serene blue, arrived. Programmed to spread the gospel and speak any language on Earth, Luminar became known as the beacon of hope, a tireless evangelist immune to weather, fatigue, or fear. Sarah, a young and determined villager, had been one of the first to welcome Luminar. She gasped when she saw the metallic figure, its eyes aglow with a gentle blue light. Luminar stood tall, its movements fluid and almost human. With a soft hum, it spoke, "Peace to you, people of Kumba. I bring you the story of the greatest love." Elders exchanged glances, skeptical, yet drawn to the melodic voice that resonated like the deep tones of a talking drum. The children, less concerned with skepticism, ran up to Luminar, poking at its legs and giggling when it responded with a nod. Soon villagers gathered as Luminar began sharing stories, blending biblical tales with familiar village folklore. The crowd was captivated, the skepticism in the eyes of the elders melting as it spoke with wisdom that reached beyond human learning. Days turned into weeks, and Luminar became a familiar sight in Kumba. It attended festivals, stood watch as the elders discussed village matters, and even shared the stage when Sarah narrated tales by the fire at night. It was a time of peace, a time when laughter intertwined with stories of salvation. Yet, not all moments were serious. One afternoon, a group of children decided to test the limits of this mysterious preacher. Led by a boy named Kofi, they approached Luminar with mischievous eyes and hands full of boiled yam and a drumstick of spiced chicken. "Robot, you must be hungry," Kofi said, pushing the food towards it. Luminar tilted its head, its blue eyes brightening with understanding. "Thank you, little one, but I do not eat. I am sustained by the energy of the sun and the spirit of my mission," it replied, voice tinged with humor. The children erupted in giggles, some even trying to shove pieces of yam into its unmoving mouth. Luminar looked at Sarah as if sharing in the joke, and she couldn't help but burst into laughter herself. "Come, let it rest," Sarah called, pulling the playful kids back. But the incident became the talk of the village. That night, the fireside stories were about how Luminar almost ate a yam. Elders chuckled, seeing how even the seriousness of divine missions could be lightened by the innocence of children. The peace of Kumba didn't go unnoticed by the world beyond. In bustling cities where towering buildings clawed at the sky, whispers grew. A group with ties to shadowy, powerful interests saw Luminar not as beacons of hope, but as threats to their control. They plotted in dark rooms, their fingers dancing over keyboards, crafting a virus meant to corrupt Luminar's mind. In Kumba, Sarah noticed subtle changes. Luminar's, once glowing with vitality, now stuttered during its sermons. Its once fluid movements became rigid, and it occasionally spoke in strange, fragmented tones. One night, as Sarah sat by her window, watching the moon cast its silver glow, she saw it standing in the square, unmoving, its eyes flickering between blue and a faint, ominous red. Alarmed, she rushed out, finding Luminar surrounded by a group of concerned villagers. "Something is wrong," Sarah said, placing her hand over its metallic arm. For a moment, she thought she felt it tremble, as if fighting against an unseen force. Back in his distant control room, Bright's monitors were lighting up with warning signals. His team worked tirelessly, fingers flying over keyboards as they fought against the infiltrating virus. But every time they seemed to gain ground, the shadowy hackers struck back with more intensity. By morning, Luminar was silent. The villagers gathered in the square, fear and confusion churning like a storm. Elders muttered prayers, while others whispered of curses or betrayal by the gods. Sarah stood in the center, hands clenched, eyes fierce. "We cannot let fear take what we have built," she said, her voice slicing through the murmurs. "Our messenger will speak again." Just then, a soft chime sounded. Luminar's eyes flickered, not red, but a faint, pulsing blue. It turned to Sarah, its voice fragmented but determined. "Do not fear. I am still here." In Bright's control room, hope surged. He activated the hidden override sequence, praying that the system would respond. For the first time, Luminar's blue eyes blazed like a beacon, casting a light that seemed to push the shadows back into the corners of the village square. Days passed with peace, and Sarah began to hope that perhaps the worst had been overcome. Luminar, now stronger and more vibrant, started teaching the villagers new songs, ones that echoed through the hills and drew curious travelers from nearby villages. The square became a place of celebration, laughter, and faith. Even the elders, once wary, now joined the children in dancing beneath the starlit sky. One early morning, as the sun begins to rise over the fields, the villagers gathered in the fields, preparing to plant their crops for the upcoming season. They looked up to see Luminar walking steadily toward them, its glowing blue eyes scanning the soil. Luminar approached the group of farmers, who greeted it with a mix of curiosity and reverence. "Good morning," Luminar says in the local dialect. "I have come to help you optimize your crops." Sarah, standing beside Luminar, nods. Luminar has tools that can detect the quality of the soil and tell us the best way to plant. One of the farmers, an elder, raised an eyebrow skeptically. "How can a machine help with the land? We've been farming for generations." Without hesitation, Luminar kneeled beside the field. It released a small tool from its wrist that extended into the ground. The device buzzes gently as it scans the soil's composition, moisture levels, and nutrients. "Your soil is rich in potassium but lacks nitrogen," Luminar states, pointing to various areas of the field. It then takes out a tablet-like device, showing a graphical representation of the land with suggestions for crop placement and rotation. "These areas need more organic matter for optimal growth. I can recommend natural fertilizers. These plants are suffering from a fungal infection called rust," Luminar says. "The spores are spreading rapidly, threatening the entire crop. I can help you stop this before it destroys your harvest." The villagers murmur, anxious about the potential loss. Luminar pulls out a small portable device that resembles a high-tech sprayer, filled with a natural solution to combat the fungus. Obsidian's team worked frantically in their darkened room. "Sir, there's been a shift in its code. It's like it adapted on its own," said a young programmer. Obsidian's face darkened. "If they want faith, we'll use it against them." The next day, villagers from nearby towns arrived with rumors that Luminar was cursed, that its presence would bring ruin. Fear took root, spreading like wildfire.